Have you ever found yourself falling for someone who seems perfect at first, but then they pull away when things get deep? You continue to give and they continue to take, and you're left feeling emotionally drained? If this sounds familiar, it's not just bad luck, it's a pattern. And today we're going to break it. My name is Tabitha. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist located in New York. And today we're just going to discuss the signs that you are attracting emotionally unavailable people and how to pretty much break the cycle in your life. I'm going to give you tips and things that you need to identify within yourself and within your partner and the other person so that you can be able to break this cycle and free yourself from relationships that with people who are emotionally unavailable. Let's get started. So here are the signs that you're attracting emotionally unavailable partners. They avoid deep conversations. So most of the time when you are in a relationship, things stay surface level. And the reason why that happens is because sometimes to go deep in conversation, it requires vulnerability, and vulnerability requires a level of self-awareness that people who are emotionally unavailable don't have the capacity to go into. If all of their lives they have been avoiding their emotions, they have been avoiding their emotional world, they have no idea how to navigate it. So they may not be able to go too deep with you when it comes to conversation, and their level of self-awareness will not be that great. And they often send mixed signals or ghosts when things get serious. You will find them detach themselves when they have to deal with some things and come back and feeling like, oh, everything should be okay because I've given it enough time. I've given it some space. Everything should be okay. Now let's pick it back up where we left it off without this disagreement, before this thing happened between us. So they disconnect for a moment and then they come back thinking that everything is okay with time, because it's hard for them to stay and address things and deal with things in the moment. So that's a sign of the lack of emotional maturity overall. So they have a lot of unresolved trauma, which is pretty much what is causing them to disconnect, because if they were to be vulnerable or to open up or to allow themselves to get to a place where they are sharing certain things with you and they are going deeper emotionally, then the trauma that they've been hiding, that they've been suppressing for a long time, is going to come up, and they have no idea how to do with that. So their brains automatically chooses to not engage with it altogether, which is why they engage in the pattern of avoiding things over and over again. They tend to prioritize their independence over connection. So these are people that will tell you, I don't need anybody, but I'm with you because I want to be with you, kind of thing. But that's a trauma response. That's a response of, I can't handle it emotionally. Therefore, I'm going to be independent so that I don't have to depend on anyone to have me. I don't have to depend on anyone. But deep down, what they desire is to be with someone, for someone to do for them, is someone to be able to need them, to make them feel important, to make them feel like they are needed and important in this world. But they tend to value independence, but the independence that they value, the deepest desire of their heart, is for connection, is for them to be able to be loved unconditionally, is for them to be accepted. And they would often make you feel like you have to earn their love, because they're saying, hey, I don't need all of this. I don't need to be in this relationship right now. I don't need you to be here, but I'm choosing you. And therefore, they can make you feel like you have to earn their love overall, then that is coming from a place of insecurity. So what I want you to realize is that anything that is unhealed inside of them is what is in charge of their emotions, is what is in charge of their reactions, is what is in charge of what it is that they do. So they tend to disconnect as a self of protection. They disconnect because there's so much that is hidden inside of them that they don't know how to deal with, that they cannot pretty much process on their own, that they've never pretty much made the effort to deal with it on their own. And therefore, when you try to engage them, when you try to ask them to be vulnerable, they disconnect. because they believe that if I disconnect from this request, if I disconnect from this person temporarily, they will drop the request and I won't have to face all of these things. So it's a very complicated thing that is going on inside of them that need to really be understood. And you need to identify yourself within them so that you may know that if they are not willing to do anything about it, if they're not willing to seek help, then that may not be a relationship that you want to be in. So why do you keep attracting emotionally unavailable people? Maybe your first, your second, your third person that you dated, and you find that these are the type of people that you're attracting and that you keep meeting the same person overall. Sometimes we find the pattern that if you grew up in a family where you were not loved, where you were not pretty much valued, and sometimes people come in to therapy saying, hey, like I grew up and my parents were present, they provided for me, but just because you are provided for, it doesn't mean that your emotional needs were met. Just because your parents were present, it doesn't mean that they provided everything that you needed at that time emotionally for you to grow up to be an emotionally stable and secure person. So if there are unhealed wounds within your life from past relationship and from childhood, then the brain pretty much attracts what is familiar. If this is how you were treated, if your parent was distant, if your parent disconnected, if your parent did not know how to handle their emotions and they did not bring it at the forefront and make it okay for you to feel, then you're gonna get used to this kind of emotional response, and what the brain finds familiar, it clings to it. So it is important, if you had a parent that was this way, that you need to take the time and heal those past wounds within yourself so that you do not attract what it is that you are, because we often attract who we are. We often attract the things that we are prone and programmed to attract from our families of origin, from past relationships. Within yourself, you may also have a fear of intimacy. Fear of intimacy these are like subconscious patterns that can make you draw to partners that don't fully commit to you. Sometimes it's fear that I'm going to be left, fear of abandonment. Sometimes when you've gone through a cycles of rejection within your life and you have not taken the time to heal those inner wounds, then you can begin to attract partners who won't fully commit, because you're telling yourself that if they don't stick, if they don't stay, then I'm already prepared. I'm already protected. I'm already preparing myself that if they don't stay, then I've already expected it. So sometimes we enter into relationships and we have that fear of intimacy because it's too risky for us to begin to have expectations on the other person. So of course, you're going to allow yourself to attract somebody who's going to disconnect, somebody who's not going to fully commit, because the thing that you rehearse within your mind over and over again is that I am not worthy of someone that will be able to be there for me and be consistent and love me the way that I'm supposed to be loved. And that leads me to the third thing, which is your low self-worth. If you do not believe that you are worthy of that love, then you may tolerate the emotional distance that happens within the person. If you believe that this is how you should be treated and that you're not worthy of something better, then it can be okay for you to stay in that relationship for a long time until you see an example of something else that is better. And that opens your mind to be able to recognize, hey, like, why is it that I'm accepting this? This is not the norm. This is not the thing. And if you notice your parents having a cycle of low self-worth and disconnection, that can allow you to learn, hey, this is what's normal in relationships. And if you saw your mom, if you're a woman and you saw your mom tolerate emotional distance from your father, it may teach you that this is what's acceptable, and you take it and you run with it, and you allow this pattern to repeat in your romantic relationships as an adult. So what you don't know, you cannot pretty much be free from. If you don't know that this is not okay, if you don't know that this is not the way that you're supposed to be treated, It's going to be hard for you to not tolerate it. It's going to be hard for you to, because there may be a part of you inside that may feel, okay, this doesn't feel right. But if this is all you know, then you're going to stay there. If this is the only type of relationship that you've witnessed in your life, it's going to be difficult for you to recognize that this is not something that's acceptable at all. So, and then the last thing is that we may tend to have codependency tendencies that we need. And these are things that we need to fix within us and heal, because they will keep us in these toxic cycles, in these toxic relationships over and over again. So what we've learned so far is that it's important for you to be able to recognize the sign within the other person, but for you to recognize as well that if you keep attracting these types of people, it is as a result of those wounds that are within yourself that you have not healed, that you need to pay attention to, and separate yourself maybe for a moment so that you can be able to heal them, and then you will attract who you are. So how do you fix this? I think it's important for you to develop self-awareness, recognize and acknowledge your patterns, be able to recognize the things that are in you, because no one is going to point them out to you. If you have a good support system, sure, there might be people that tell you, hey, like these are the things that are within you. But if you're not self-aware, somebody could say it to you 100 times because you don't believe that these things are true about you. Then you may reject it. Then you may say, hey, that is not me. I'm sorry, it's you. And you may blame other people, but you need to first shine the light on yourself and recognize, are there things inside of me that are not healed? Are there pieces of me that have been programmed to be a certain way that I keep attracting those relationships? And really sit down and be honest with yourself and recognize if those things are in you and decide to do something about it. And that leads us to the second thing, that is healing your wounds. You have to decide that you're going to go to therapy, that you're going to do some self-reflection, that you're going to seek out a mentor, that you're going to seek out a coach, seek out somebody, go before God and ask him what it is that you can do about those things, and figure out the proper steps that you need to take to be able to heal those wounds. A lot of you, I hear you say all the time that, hey, I don't need this. I don't need to go to therapy. I got it myself. I'm going to do this. But all the time, you find yourself putting it on the back burner. Therapy is accountability. It allows you to get to a place where you meet with someone and you have to confess to them the things and the patterns and the things that are within you, so that they can help you navigate around it, and you can be able to find a solution and find healing. There are some wounds that are connected to your past, that are connected to your childhood, that you won't be able to make those connections on your own. And you have to go seek out a professional that will be able to identify those things within you that can connect that experience that you had as a child to what's happening in the present, and help you go back there so that you can find healing. But if you won't submit yourself to someone and reveal those things about yourself and be vulnerable to someone, it's going to be hard for you to find that healing. And the next thing you do as you find the healing, you need to set new standards for yourself. You need to make a promise to yourself that you're going to love yourself first, and that you are not going to settle for someone who can't meet your emotional needs. And practice discernment. When you meet people, I'm not telling you to become a detective and allow yourself to then begin asking them a million questions all at once. That feels like an interview and lead them away. But I'm asking you to be able to observe as you are in a relationship. Allow your body to be able to tell you if you feel that something is not right. Most likely something is not right. If you feel like, oh, this person, yeah, all of these things are great, but this piece about them makes me feel unsettled, make me not feel so good. When this person disconnects from me, it doesn't make me feel good. Begin to recognize those signs and patterns within yourself, and to pay attention to the red flags, and allow yourself to trust yourself enough and to have enough self-worth to say, oh, like this is a pattern. And when you recognize a pattern, bring it up in conversation. And if over and over again, the person decides to disconnect, the person decides to not have those conversations with you, the person is not willing to just stay and do this and stay and discuss this stuff with you, then that's your clue that this is not a good relationship for you. This is not a relationship with someone who is emotionally stable. And if it's you, then you need to come clean to the person. If it's you that's not emotionally available, then you need to come clean to your person and recognize, hey, like, I'm realizing after watching this video that I'm not emotionally stable, that I've been disconnecting when you've been trying to connect with me. I'm deciding today that I'm going to do something about it and I'm going to change. I'm going to seek out therapy and a coach so that I can be able to heal those parts of me so that I can be able to show up better in this relationship. And it's important for you to do that, because if you keep not addressing it, and if you have a good person in your life right now, you're going to lose them. So, and the last thing is to embrace being alone. If this is a pattern in you and you're not in a relationship right now, you need to embrace being by yourself for a while so that you can be able to heal. Because the season of being in a relationship is very different from a season of healing where you fully focus on yourself and you can heal those parts of you. You can deal with those childhood wounds. You can deal with those things, because if you are unhealed and you are in a relationship, it's more likely that you're going to end up hurting the person that you're with. So here is what it is that I want you to do moving forward. I want you to realize that you are worthy of a love that is whole, that is present, and that is available. But I want you to also recognize that it starts with you. That the version of you that is healed will attract somebody that is healed. But a version of you that is unhealed will attract somebody that is unhealed, somebody whose toxic patterns match what it is that is inside of you. And I'm going to ask you that if right now that you're in a relationship and that you're noticing that these things are unhealed inside of you, that you take accountability for the things that you have done, but also decide for yourself today to make a decision that you're going to heal for your sake, and you're going to heal for the sake of the person that you are in a relationship with. Because no one deserves to be treated the way that emotionally unavailable people treat their partners. And the person that you claim to love certainly does not deserve that. So that is all I have for you today. If you like this video, click the like button and comment and let me know what are the things you're going to do to change your relationship. What are the things that you're going to do to identify whether you are in a relationship with an emotionally unavailable person, and subscribe to this channel to receive more tips about how to be and engage in healthy relationships and how to heal from those that have not turned out to be wonderful and great. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.